situated right. There we go.
All right, it's the Real Nonsense Podcast. It's June 24th, Saturday, 5 o'clock. And it's Chris Rogers with Aaron Reed. Damian Jackson, our other host, couldn't join us today. He is out putting everything together for the McKinsey Alumni Picnic. Hey, Aaron, what's going on?
Oh, this is a great Saturday. We are
I know,
out
right?
for the school year, and I'm loving it.
I know, right? I want to learn how to play my fake baby grand piano in the background one day. So listen, folks, today we are with one of the district's shining stars from Detroit Public Schools Community District, Principal Bryant Tipton from Pershing High School. Welcome to the Real Nonsense, Principal Tipton. How are you today, sir?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Good.
How you guys doing?
Hey, we're
Yeah.
great, man. We're great. School's out, so you got a little brief break here.
Yeah, somewhat of a breather. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not a long one. It's like swimming. You come up for a little air and you go right back down. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. So one of the things that I want to talk about, well, I want to jump right into Persian. I spent some time over there this year in the building with you and your staff and your students.
Mm.
So most of this, I want to let you kind of narrate and take our listening audience on a journey from where you were, where Persian was when you got there, and then how you've managed to transform the culture and get everybody on board over at the school. It's a remarkable school. It's a remarkable job that you've done over there. But why don't you kind of take our audience on a journey where you started and how you got to Persian exactly, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, this will be in September year 25 for me. So, I started in what 98 at elementary, Gompers Elementary, and was there for 5 years, and was at Cody as the boys basketball coach and a special ed teacher for 13 years, and then became the dean at East English Village. Um, I was there for what 5, 6 years, and then Osborne and Purge. So, I've been around a long time, and um, what we've been able to do at Persian is something that I learned while I was a teacher at Gompers Elementary. And so throughout my time, of course, I had good leaders and bad leaders. But at Gompers, we had a good leader. And even to this day, we still talk. Matter of fact, she was just over at the building last Thursday. Um, and so I try to lead in the same manner where, at work, you create a family atmosphere. And when folks enjoy coming to work and they feel safe at work and they feel loved at work, all of that is going to transpire right into the children and into our culture and climate, because you got people who enjoy coming to work. They don't feel like it's a task getting up in the morning, coming into this building, and got to deal with all this stuff. So my job, last year this time, when they appointed me as the principal of Persian, my job was to really transform the staff to where they feel loved, appreciated, and valued. And so, because I've learned, as a leader, you're only as good as your staff. And if your staff don't want to, be there, then they're going to make everything in that building um, negative. But when your staff want to be there, they're going to make sure that the building is growing and make sure that my job is a little bit easier. So that's where I try to be a servant leader. I try to lead by example. I don't uh, try to have everyone do everything. I try to make sure I'm right there with them doing it. We all going to do it together. So, so that's been my journey. That's been the road that, you know, um, that I'm trying to get to as far as cleaning up Persian Now we know there was a lot of issues there. Gun issues, drug issues, just having the whole building wide open, where the students can just roam wherever they want to go. And that was one of my things. I want to make sure that I structure the building to where students can only go to certain areas. And so that way we're not trying to figure out, where's Chris Rogers? He was just over here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Him and Reed went down the hallway. They smoking somewhere. You know what I mean? So that way we already know. No, they couldn't go that way. They got to be either in his bathroom. You know what I mean? Or they must have left the building.
Right.
So that way it makes everyone's job a little bit easier.
I thank you for blocking off the building, because it caused me to lose another 10 pounds because I had to walk. Aaron, it's like like following Papa Smurf. I had to go down the stairs, over the mountain to the gym. It was a nice little walk every day.
Yeah.
But it kept my cardio up for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. I was an assistant at Pershing some years ago, like in 03, 04.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was assistant basketball coach when Monique Brown was there as a head coach. So I've been in the building and have been a little bit familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has. I guarantee you, it hasn't changed since that time either. So.
Oh, Lord.
Now the unfortunate part is East Side schools. The East Side period gets kind of a bad rep. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm just Chris, so I'm comfortable everywhere I go. But when I went over there, at first I kind of felt, and I say this in a positive way, I kind of felt like an outsider, because when I first walked in the building, everybody was so close knit. Like everybody was talking to everybody and speaking to everybody. It was like a family vibe. And I'm like, I'm the new cousin. Like, hey, y'all, how y'all doing? But they welcomed me in. The students were incredible. Like, they were, I just don't like the rep that the East Side gets, because I walked to the gas station, the store every day. I was fine. Like, nobody bothered me. I'm older. I'm an old man, so maybe they didn't want to. But, I mean, I just felt totally comfortable in the environment. I really did. So I just don't like the reputation that schools get on the East Side like that. It's just a good school to me.
Yeah, and that's the environment I try to create. And so, like I said, as I came in last year this time, one of the teachers told me, he said, we got a good team. We just need a coach. He said we had a good coach. He said we can be a real good team. And he was right. They just needed someone to show them that they care. And like I said, I got my hands in everything from the athletics to the discipline to the academics to whatever else. But I don't have my hand in it so much while I'm micromanaging. You know what I mean? As I tell everyone, I just need to know what's going on, because if something goes down, they don't come straight to me and ask me, well, why you don't know? So, but I let everyone do their job. I don't have to know every single detail, but at least, let me know something about what's going on.
Yeah. Did you handpick your dean, or was he already there when you got there?
See, he was already there when I got there. So, he was another one that needed basically to be saved, because he was feeling a way of like he wasn't appreciated. He was, just feeling abandoned. Like, I'm doing all this by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, of course, being a dean, the dean blood is always in my blood. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm all on this. So when it comes to discipline and cleaning it up, that's an easy job for me.
Yeah.
And so as we tag teamed it, he felt a lot better knowing that someone was there to kind of help him through those hard days when the discipline is all on you.
Now, I don't want to take away from any other dean in the district, Aaron, when I tell this real quick, but let me tell you something. When that brother comes on the floor, people move. He ain't even talk. His presence alone, bodies just move. And when I say I'm gonna call the dean, they don't call dean. They don't want no parts of it. You know what I'm saying? So that structure the culture is so in place where, they go where they're directed to go. And that's what high school should be. I mean, because you got a lot of things going on in high school. So when you can control the culture, kids can actually learn. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so Coach Reed, when you were there, you know, the population's a little bit different. So right now we only got like 420 kids.
Right.
So when you were there in 2003, I'm sure they had a lot more than that time.
Now, I wasn't teaching there because I've always been elementary, but I was coaching. And at the time they had Detroit Tech, because a lot of our players were students at Detroit Tech. Yeah, and that was when Miss Phillips was the principal of Detroit Tech back then.
Yeah. Phillips was there. I mean, Miss Force was there, and who else? She's the superintendent out of Southfield now.
She's my superintendent.
Okay, yeah. She was at Persian.
Education smaller than sororities and fraternities, boy.
Yeah.
And she's my soror. So
okay, all right. Yeah, so she was at Oak Park with me for a little bit, but then I guess she went to Persian. I know she was at Persian, and so she's been around a long time. So Persian had some great administrators that came through there. Yeah.
And those banners in the gym is incredible. Sometimes I just look up at them, and all the history in that gym with those banners. It's like, and I know the players on the banners, you know, I mean, it's like, wow, you know, they were actually here doing that. Now you see them on TV or saw them on TV. And I was like, that's incredible.
Yeah. And so that's another part that I've been pretty instrumental on this year is reaching back to the alumni. So the alumni is real big at Persian, and they haven't had a lot of pro people come through there, you know. But I tell folks, you know, they had a lot of pros, but they got a lot of Division I guys and girls that's come through there. You know what I'm saying? So they may have the most Division I players.
I coach some of them.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So they may have the most Division I players. You know what I'm saying? In DPS history that's come through that school. So which is why I made sure I created that banner, so when the kids come through the door, they see a list of people who've come through this building. And they're able to identify with these same people that walk the same hallways that they walk, you know, from entertainment to athletics to political, all these folks, even doctors. My doctor right now is a graduate from Persian. And so you know, there's been a lot of folks that's come through there that's been very, very successful. And so reaching back to the alumni, letting the alumni know that they are still part of this school and they're always welcome is very big.
Yes, I think that's very important. I'm originally from Saginaw, so I went to the high. I went to Saginaw High, and
that's what they call it, the high.
It's the high. So it's very important. I remember growing up, if you were any type of hooper, you wanted to play for Saginaw High women, because we had been having Division I. My junior high school coach was one of the first Division I athletes at Michigan State when they first started giving Division I scholarships to women. Wow. And so coming out of high school in '93, I was not the first of Division I athlete. I wasn't the first All-American either. Draymond Green's aunt was the first All-American there. And so that legacy is so important. Kids need to be able to see who have walked before them and allow them to serve as examples for them. So can you speak a little bit more on some of the things that you're doing to cultivate that?
Yeah. So and I'm gonna back up first, because you mentioned Saginaw. So when I was in college, it was two guys from Michigan. You know, doing our workouts, we would have to swim, or for the ones who couldn't swim, meet another guy. I'm gonna say his name in a minute. We're the only ones that couldn't swim. They're like, you guys, only two guys from Michigan, and y'all can't swim. All that water, you know. So a guy named Lou Dawkins. I don't know if you know what Lou Dawkins is.
Yeah.
But me and Lou played at Tulsa together, and so and so you know, it's funny that you said that from Saginaw, because I spent a lot of time in Saginaw. Because I was coaching at Cody. We would go scrimmage, Lou and them, come back down. So Draymond played for Lou, so I know Draymond just a little bit, just from the coaching aspect. But as you mentioned, that whole alumni piece. Again, I'm a big sports guy, so I'm gonna make sure that Steve Smith. The gym is named after Steve Smith. But Steve Smith ain't been back up there since what 2000 something. The early '90s, early 2000s. Because he felt like he wasn't welcome. Why is that?
Wow.
Khalil Felder. I know Khalil's whole family. I'm matter of fact, I tried to recruit his younger brother to come play for me when I was at Cody. And it's sad that no one any administrator has reached back and said, we need these alumni to come back, talk to the kids, and let these students know that they are still part of this community. Because I explained to the kids early in the year that these same houses that all of these famous people on this board, the same houses y'all live in now. You know what I'm saying? Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, these are the same houses. They ain't built no new houses.
Right. Exactly.
So these are the same blocks that they had to walk. You know what I mean? It's the same houses they had to live in. A lot of them are millionaires now. They don't live there. Their parents don't live there. But again, they have the same environment, and if they made it through, you can make it through. And so that's what we're trying to bring back, the whole alumni to be involved in students' education.
Now one of the things that the chatter is, you're going to be getting a new facility at some point. So if that facility is going to be in the same space, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what those plans look like moving forward?
So right now, building, we're supposed to walk in 2026. So we still got a little time, but we know a new building is coming. They're going to start on the football field, which means our football team have to travel for the 2 years because we won't have a home field to play in. So they're going to start on the football field building and then move back towards Ryan. So as they complete it, we get to walk into the new building, and then they'll tear down the old building as we're inside the new building. The old building would now be where the football field would be. And that would be, football field, the concession stand, and then extra parking if we need it. I'm sure we're going to need it for football games, because right now there isn't a place to park for football games.
Right.
So all of that is in place. The school is only going to house 600 kids, which for me is good because I like that number. I don't like to get over 1,000, 2,000 kids in the building, because you can't build relationships with all of those kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So right now we have 420. I can build relationships with every student in that building.
Yeah.
Every student in that building know who I am.
They do. You are absolutely right.
And so when you get to be to thousands and thousands of kids, you can't touch every kid as a principal, and every kid know who the principal. They may know who the principal is, but do they know who the principal is? You know what I'm saying? So, I even look back to my high school. I went to Cody, and so we had 4,000, 5,000 kids in there during that time. Did our principal know every kid in that building? No. You know what I mean? Did we have a relationship with our principal? No. More so the teacher, maybe counselor, you know what I mean? But not with the principal. So this way, it gives us an opportunity to be able to reach every child, talk to every child, build a relationship with every child. And like I said, that 600 number is perfect for a brand new building. So everybody's gonna want to come to a brand new building.
During the closure and consolidation period around 2006 to maybe 2011, I was working for Aramark at that time, and we were closing buildings, decommissioning them, that kind of thing. And the bills have gotten better in terms of school buildings the more they have built. Cass was one of the first, and it had a few issues here and there. And then East English Village, to me, aesthetically looks better than some of the first buildings. Mumford is a great building too. So what's one of the standout things that you've seen in the blueprints that you had a chance to see that you think is going to really be one of those selling points once it gets done?
So the blueprint really hasn't been made up. It's more of just talking about what's going to be what and how we're going to have whatever. And as you've mentioned, those three buildings, Renaissance, Cass, and East English. Of course, I worked at East English for 6 years, so I know what that building is like. But Cass and Renaissance. So when I was coaching at Cody, we played, playoffs, few playoff games, city playoff games at Renaissance and a couple of casts, but the roof was leaking. We like it's a brand new building, high as the roof, so we had to stop the game because the snow was melting and was coming down onto the floor. And so, but what I do like about Renaissance is that they got a first floor gym. Yes, and that's what I've been asking for, and for the new building for us, it's the first floor gym. The second floor gyms, you built East English Village for the second floor gym. And it's hard to get equipment up there. It's hard to get people out after a game. And so so just like Pershing, all the older building, Pershing, Cody, all those Denby, all those schools that were built with a second floor gym, after a game, getting people back down those steps, into a parking lot is difficult. Where now, if we have a first floor gym, we just open up the doors and everybody go out those doors, to a parking lot. And so, so that's one of the structure. The other one would be we have a culinary arts department where our students would not have to go to career tech centers. They can take culinary arts there. We already got the police cadets. That program would be, moved over to the new building with better technology for the police cadets. And then, we have our space for our ROTC. We'll have our J Dilla music program continue on, and just different things in a better space, more technology, in the newer building that's going to help grow our school.
Yeah. Now, on the active, Aaron, did you want to input something real quick?
I just wanted to make a comment on just how the dynamic of school populations is changing in the state of Michigan and how schools are becoming smaller. When I was in high school, all of Detroit high schools were Class A. Well, they were called Class A, which meant you had to have at least 1,000 students. At Saginaw High, we had over 1,000 students with only 3 grades. And so that whole dynamic is changing, but I feel that it's necessary because the dynamic of our students are changing. And so to better meet the needs, I believe that you do need smaller populations in the school.
Yep, you hit it right on the head. And also in the city, the population isn't what it used to be either. A lot of us don't send our kids back to DPS schools. Right. A lot of us, we move out, our kids going to Farmington, our kids going to Troy, our kids going to Southfield,
West Bloomfield.
West Bloomfield, so we don't have the population in the city like we used to, and go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Tip. Go ahead. Yeah.
But I do agree with you, Aaron, is that, it's we need smaller populations because it's a lot more stuff going on. Where, like I said, I don't want 1,000 kids because, when I was at East English Village, I was the only dean there for a good 3 years. And we had 1,400 kids, and the difference is when East English Village was first opened, Kettering had closed, right? Finney had closed. Finney became East English Village.
That's right.
So, and then Crockett closed. So nobody wanted, so all the kids from Kettering, of course, had to come to East English. Finney, of course, was at East English. Crockett was at East English. And no one wanted to go to EAA. So we had Pershing, Denby, Southeastern. All of them came over to East English Village because they didn't want to be EAA. So we had, I say fights every day. We had at least 6 fights every day. But again, when you got 1,400 kids in this space and all of them are from different areas, you're going to have that, And it wasn't until that 4th or 5th year where I was at East English. By that time, I got a second dean. We got a second dean, but it was just one school then.
Right.
It wasn't, kids come. Well, I came from here. It was everybody was just for one school because all the other kids had graduated out. And so that's when you kind of see like a little bit of a calm. But again, when you got those big numbers, you can have more problems.
Exactly.
When I was there this year for the short time that I was there, and working with students with credit recovery, and all the schools that I've been to, and I told the kids this, and all the schools that I've been to and sat for a long period of time, the kids at Pershing, they kept coming, Aaron, like, hey, I'm done. Hey, help me out. I gotta get out. Like, I didn't have to chase them down and call them on teams and all that. They came to me because they wanted to get out. and with the work that the staff put in, all what was it, Principal Tipton, 71?
73.
73 out of 73 on time.
Excellent.
And so I saw they said we get on the bus. I was like, what bus? Because I never heard of this before, right? So it's a couple of things I saw in person I never seen before. So Principal Tipton, so I don't steal your thunder. How did the kids get to graduation? How did that work?
So, there were a couple of kids that were saying, I don't have a way there, and in my mind, I'm like, should they find a way there? You know what I mean? But after a while, this might have been like maybe April, May-ish, and so kids said, well, how do we get to graduation? How about, well, your parent got to take it. Your parent got to take it. So once time started winding down, we still had like maybe like 5 or 6 kids trying to figure out how they're going to get to graduation. So Miss Martin's like, well, can we just get a bus? So I'm like, yeah, let's just get a bus. And because I'm thinking it's only 4 or 5 kids, right? And our senior sponsors and our AP, they're already leaving their house going to graduation to set up different things at the venue. So of course I got to go in. So okay, I'll ride the bus with the group. And Lord behold, more kids was coming. I kind of got scared because the bus was supposed to have been at 8:45. The bus didn't get there at 9:15. So kids were still calling like at 9 o'clock. The bus got there yet? I'm like, no. Okay, I'm on my way. Somebody else called. So with teams, they got access to you 24/7. So they can call me all day long and text me all day long on Teams. So they call and text and call. I'm like, bus haven't got here. So man, next thing I look up, it's like 40 kids.
Wow. They caught the bus to graduation.
Man, I'm like, none of y'all got a ride. So they ended up coming out and we all took the bus and got on the graduation. It was cool. So next year I know that, and I already told them that next year we will have 2 buses, one for graduation rehearsal and the other one for the graduation, because we actually have rehearsal at the school. And so rehearsing at the school and then going to the venue is totally different because it's a totally different layout, totally different setup. So next year we might need to get 2 buses because I'm thinking that all the kids can just ride the bus. It was just a one-way trip. They didn't want their parents to make them late, which I understood. So yeah, it was.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I'm done. I'm finished.
When we talk about equity and inclusion and all these type of things in terms that we throw around in education these days, I was sharing with Aaron something before you came on, but I didn't want you to see it before you came on. So I'm gonna show this video snippet real quick of something I saw for the first time that I saw. So let me show this to the audience. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to stuff like that, I'm a softie. So I'm standing there trying to keep my composure and be cool because I don't want these kids to see me emotional. But that just touched my heart. I never saw that, and I've been in schools all this time. That definitely didn't happen in '84 when I walked out of McKenzie. I love McKenzie, but that would have been great if we did that. So where did that idea come from, Tip, that graduation walk? I mean, what made you come up with that this year?
So again, I had a great experience while I was at Gompers. Like I say, it's an experience that you would only have to go through to understand. And so we had such a great leader that she put all of these systems in place for the students to feel appreciated and valued. And so I still have all that inside of me, and that's what I'm pouring inside of Persian right now. So every year we have a clap out for our 5th graders leaving, going to middle school. And so, what's different between elementary and high school? I was always asked that question when I left Gompers going to Cody. So what's the difference between elementary and high school? Well, the difference between elementary and high school is the kids in elementary don't cuss and they don't have sex. Other than that, it's about the same. So,
some of them cuss.
yeah. But they still, these kids, same kids still need the same nurturing. They still need the same tools. They still need the same type of loving atmosphere to make them feel appreciated. And so, even though we did that in elementary, we transfer that to high school. It's the same effect. It's the same effect, And so, with that, people were always wondering, well, in elementary, they always feel love. Kids are, oh yeah, my elementary, but when they get to high school, something changes. What changes? The only thing changes is the people, So it's the people that makes the school. And that's what I said about my staff earlier, is that my staff feels valued and appreciated, and they want to be there. They're going to go above and beyond for the kids. And so now, once you got that, now you got the kids there, and the kids now feel the love from the staff. They're going to feel valued and appreciated, and they're going to want to do more for the school, right? And so, that's just a little something that we have to continue to do to make our students feel appreciated. And a lot of folks are like, clap. So what do we do? I was like, you don't do anything. Just stand on the side and clap as they come down, And so the seniors like, what are we supposed to? I said, y'all go to the second floor. When y'all come, I'm gonna make an announcement for y'all to come down. Just wait for the announcement, And everybody nervous. I don't know what to do. You don't do anything. Just stand on the side. But once the kids came through, everybody understood what the concept was, and like I said, the seniors really enjoyed it. Yeah, someone's trying to look hard if they walk through the hallway, but once they got outside, man, they used to see them smile on their faces. Crazy.
Yeah, they were proud. That was a proud moment for them.
Yeah.
And I just stood there in awe. Like I never saw it before. So I was just like, wow, this is how you celebrate success. This is how you celebrate achievement. This is how you support each other as a people. Like this is what you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to take a quick commercial break real quick to show this ad from our sponsor, Jerry Davis Photography. So I'm gonna show this ad real quick. Wrong ad. There we go. All right, so we're back with the Real Nonsense Podcast, sponsored by Jerry Davis Photography and BRJ1 Media Group, LLC. So, Principal Tipton, so we're back. We were talking about the, what did we leave off, Aaron? We were talking about the
clap out.
The clap out, yeah, the clap out. So, how did the year end, Tip? Graduation, prom. Those were two beautiful events, right?
Yeah. So the school year ended up pretty good, I think the staff and the students were appreciative. I think the school year was something that the staff were this time last year trying to figure out what they were going to do, right? A lot of them was like, well, I'm leaving, I'm transferring, blah, blah. Of course, it's not about you. It's just telling you what the things that goes on around here. And, I'm explaining to them. I said, well, I've been around a long time. I said, I understand. I said, but my job is to take care of all those things that are important to the staff and to the community. And so coming right in, like I said, last year this time, just complaining that the parking lot wasn't painted and that the gate didn't work and just a lot of complaining. So, okay, so I went and bought paint, striped up the parking lot, fixed the gate, reconstructed some things in the parking lot to where they can actually maneuver and get around. And then came inside and kind of did some new things inside. So so if you come to the building now, and like I said, I'm still doing stuff from last week. So if you come to the building now, we put in some new lights. So it's a lot brighter in the hallway. A whole lot brighter when so you come in now. So anyway, so just doing things, and again, leading by example, showing them that we don't need the district to come out and do everything. Some things we can do on our own. Yeah. And so and by doing that, everyone kind of bought in to what I was bringing, and so which helped the whole culture and climate. And we still got a little ways to go, but I think we're on a upward trend on how we do things.
So on the academic end, what's when you got there, what was kind of the state, and where are you now, and where do you want to take it after that?
So when I got there, our academics so we just got our school grades. It was last Tuesday, I think I met with you. And so last year, this time, our school grade was an F, right? Mm-hmm. And so my goal was to at least try to move us one letter grade to show progress. Moving 2-letter grades is great, but it's hard to do. So moving 1-letter grade was a goal, and so we went from 22% last year to now we're at 30%, which means we got a D. So we did move growth-wise, and the difference for me was coming in this time, I didn't know any of the students, right? And so now a whole year, I know just about every student in that building. And so midway through, as we were getting towards testing and whatever else, I made sure that my juniors understood how important the SAT was, and then from there, like I said, just talking to them, my athletes, make sure I talk to them one-on-one. Hey, Aaron, I just see you in my office. Aaron, come in. So what's going on with these grades? I'm looking at your grades right now. This shit ain't good. You know what I mean? You're like, well, Ted said, no. I'm like, no. You are one of our top athletes. You need it. You know what I mean? So, and that's what I mean by touching every kid, a small number. So I can't touch every kid. I see Chris in the hallway. Hey, Chris, come here for a minute, man. Somebody told me you was acting fool in their class today. What's the problem? You know what I'm saying? So with that, we're able to transform the academics and our athletes to understand that they all go hand in hand, and that not being on top of your academic game is not acceptable. And so that helped us move our school, like I said, 1-letter grade. Now that we are D, next year this time we want to move to a C, and we want to continue to improve. Because we have a lot of smart kids at Pershing. As you mentioned earlier, now we got a lot of smart kids there, man. And you can see why they've had so many kids that go Division I, because they have a lot of smart kids, and athletics kids,
Yeah. Valedictorian was an athlete, one of your best athletes, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our valedictorian was our top athlete. He just played football, a little bit of basketball, but more so football. And so but again, like I said, I'm on top of him just as much as the girls. So it's everybody's equal. You know what I'm saying? So we all are in this together, and that's why I created the slogan: "We are one. We are one." And we play that song every day because everyone has to feel connected. We have to have something that makes us feel connected. And so and so Coach Reed, that we play the Frankie Beverly song, "We Are One." We are one. I figured it. Yeah. So we play that every day on the announcements, and that's like our little school song.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Coach, what you got to go over there. You got to go over there, Aaron. You got to go over there. When school start, you got to check it out. It's They'll love you.
Yeah, it's been quite a while since I've been in that building, so I will. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll hug on you and now they'll welcome you with open arms.
No, most definitely.
I'm a second grade teacher, so I'm used to doing a bunch of hugging.
Yeah.
I'm that teacher. I'm that teacher that will get in your behind and then hug you in the next minute.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yep. So, same here.
So what's some of the plans for Persian moving forward next year?
So right now, as I told the staff in that last meeting, that we got our culture climate together. Now, as the students are out of the hallways and into the classroom, it's time for you guys to step your game up. And so the plan is for our teachers to get the professional development this summer. That they, a couple of them already emailed me where they're going, what they're doing, but also be able to manage those classes and keep our students engaged in every session. It's no more when I walk in, the kids sit down and you stand up. That means that when I walk in there, the kids acting a fool. And you ain't doing nothing. So that means when I walk in, the kids sit down and now you stand up, means that ain't nothing going on in it.
Right.
It should be just the opposite. When I walk in there, the kids should be sitting down, you should be standing up. And so that's the plan for the this upcoming school year, and to just let them know that they are on a year-to-year notice right now, and the thing is, everyone wants to be there, so I have no vacancies. Everyone wants to be there, and but again, if you want to continue to be here, you got to make sure you teach these kids, because our kids want to learn. They want it so bad, And so that's the next plan, is to make sure our teachers are actually teaching. And again, I'm a teacher at heart, and I get some days as you walk in, like, oh God, I just don't feel like dealing with this mess today. But you have to make sure you stay on your grind. And again, I'm not a micromanager. So I understand some days you need to rest. I get it. But the other days you need to be up there grinding, working that stuff out, getting and getting them kids, the knowledge that they need.
Yeah. What's funny that you just said. So I'm in the On the Rise Academy, right? Because I'm working on going back into the classroom. But something you just said was real profound, and you said it, and I heard it, but we kind of moved past it. So with all the vacancies that's going on in the city, you got a school in 7 Mile and Ryan, and you have no teacher vacancies.
Yeah.
None. I mean, that's profound. If you work in the district or you work in education and you understand what's going on right now, for you to have a so-called school that's on the east side, that people say this and that, and the east side this and that, you got teachers who don't even want to move.
Yeah.
They're committed. They're there. That's profound.
Yeah.
That's profound. That's absolutely profound.
Yeah, and we have some good teachers. Like I said, someone said it last year that we just need a good coach. So we got a good team. We just need a good coach. And so when you have teachers like Miss Martin or Miss Hardy, at the APN, when you walk to Martin's class, have you ever seen Martin's class, Dr. Rogers, like before when the bell rings?
No, I never did when the bell rang.
Okay, so she make her kids lined up outside her door.
Okay.
So she got these high school kids lining up outside the door, where everybody else like, hey, just come on in. She make her kids lined up, and she look out, and they lined up. She's all right, come on in.
She get them straight before they walk in the door.
Come on, that's what I'm talking about.
Now
we gonna get all that mess together before we get in this class.
Right. Now what I've never seen her do is raise her voice.
Yeah,
so sometimes when you go in schools, you hear female teachers and you hear the yelling, right? I never heard her raise her voice at all. Not around me, which meant that she didn't have to raise her voice with them.
Yeah.
They understood.
They understood that she means business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it ain't coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of respect and a place of love. And they understand that. And so that's my thing. If the female teachers can have control of their class, the male teachers most definitely have control of your class. And because again, we have to represent as men as being, hey, we're strong, we're tough. But women do outdo us all the time. You know what I mean? They are strong, they are tough, man. And the kids respond to it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's the guys that struggle with classroom management, and the women got it under control. You know, and so we have to, and that's what I told them too. You know, we have to learn from each other. You know, just because I'm a man, I'll be able to go in here. No, that don't mean nothing, man. That don't mean that don't mean a thing when you're dealing with high school kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So and so that's what we got to do. We got to learn from each other. Our teachers got to step their game up and learn how to manage those classes. Because again, if Miss Martin can have her students line up outside her class, the same hood kids that were just in Mr. Tipton's class acting a fool, the same group can go right down the hallway and line up, take their hood off, and be waiting for her to say, "Come on in." Why does she have so much control and you can't?
Right.
And she set the expectation early, and that's the thing that one of the things that I found. I'm going into my 24th year. I've taught in 2 different states, in Missouri and Michigan, and one of the things that I learned very, very early on, because I had great examples as for elementary teachers myself, is that if you set the bar high, the kids will rise to the occasion. But I've always set the expectation not only with the students, but with the parents too. I let the parents know from the very beginning, this is the expectation that I will have for your child.
Yeah, most definitely.
And so when you set that expectation, the children and the parents have proven that they will rise to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Let me ask you guys a fun question real quick. So this is the first time I've been on a call with 2 former college athletes, right? So I gotta ask this question. I cut the NBA draft off after the 2nd pick of the draft. so I gotta ask you hoopers, because y'all straight up hoopers. What's overtime elite? What did you think of the draft? What did you think of our picks this year? What did you guys?
I'll let Coach Reed go first.
Okay.
Well, speaking from someone who's a diehard 80s NBA fan, I'm still a Magic fan to this day. Okay. And I've seen, and being a coach's kid also, I've been able to see how basketball has changed. And so now you're seeing younger kids. They're actually kids. They don't even look. Years ago, when Moses Malone when Moses Malone was drafted, he looked like a man. When Kobe went, he was younger, but he looked like a man. I mean, they look like little kids, like they should be playing for Pershing. And so to me, it speaks to how much of the development has gone down. A lot of people look at me crazy when I say it. I said, they're good because good is relative. It's relative to who you're playing against. I would venture to say that the talent now in the state of Michigan is not the same as it was. You let some of those girls play against us that played in the 80s and the 90s and see how far they'll get. We were much more tougher player then, and much better skill player also. And so after the first, the young man from France, the 7'5" guy, after that, it ended up kind of being a joke to me. And so it's purely entertainment. And I think that at some point, we're making ways for more people coming from overseas.
Yeah.
Because they're not bringing an 18-year-old overseas people from overseas. They are in their 20s and upper 20s in some cases coming over to play.
Yeah, and I echo the same thing. So I don't have like a favorite team. I don't have I gotta watch these people play or follow these people. I just don't. I never have been. I just like watching competition. I like when they're playing hard and competing against each other. It don't matter who it is. I just like watching games. So the draft, I didn't watch the draft. I never watched the draft, honestly, because, like I said, I'm just not interested in who's going where, or whatever else. I'm more interested in who's playing hard. So for me, I'm always going to be a player. I'm always going to be a coach, and so as a coach, I didn't care who was on y'all team. I just want to see y'all compete and play.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you pick first, who y'all got on your squad. Y'all playing hard, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with the draft. As long as they out there playing hard, not saying, well, I got these dollars, I'm gonna chill. Because, as Reed mentioned, Kobe came out of high school and he wasn't playing around. He was serious about his business.
Yeah.
Same thing with a lot of guys that came out in the 90s and 80s drafts. They were serious about it. This ain't nothing to play around with. And nowadays it's more so, like it's like this Imani Bates. They just trying to see who got the biggest name, and the biggest name is the people, but so yeah. So what you think about it? Why you turned it off after the first pick?
I just thought I didn't watch a lot of college basketball this year. Normally, sometimes there are a lot of notable names, particularly from U.S. colleges that are in the draft. And when I looked at the mock drafts before the draft, there were several names I never even recognized. And then we went and drafted somebody from Overtime Elite. I was like, okay, it's time for me just to cut this off because I'm already frustrated. I'm like, come on, seriously. But there were two things that happened this week in sports that I'm going to ask both of you about because they do directly tie into our children and education. One of them was the Ja Morant situation, right? Where he is looked at by a lot of kids all across the United States as a role model. And then the NCAA is proposing to take marijuana off the banned substance list for college athletes. And they're about to vote on that. So I don't care which one of you address it, but what do you guys think about those two things at all?
So with the Ja Morant situation, a lot of folks say, okay, well, he's a role model. He's a role model. But I've always taught my guys that a role model is not someone that you see on TV. A role model is someone that you can actually talk to every day or see every day that you can say, hey, you know what? I want to model my life after. I said, because if you say, okay, a person like Ja Morant or Kobe Bryant or LeBron, they're my role models. How are they your role models? You don't know what they're doing when that camera's on. You don't know if they're a wife beater. You don't know if they're an alcoholic. You don't know if they abandoned their kid. You don't know what they do with their life. So they can't. So Ja Morant can only be a role model to those people in his life. Right. Now he's in the public eye, yes. But someone said, well, he's my role model. He can't be your role model because you don't know him like that. You know what I mean? Dr. Rogers can be somebody's role model because I can call Dr. Rogers like, hey, Doc, what's going on, man? Can you show me how? Yeah, so you need to do this. Coach Reed could be a role model to her girls because, again, they can say, hey, what did you do when you was in college? Well, when I was in college, I did this, and that. You know what I'm saying? So those are people that can be role models. You cannot have a role model that you do not know or have a connection with. You may like what they do. It's somebody that you want to be like because I want to play basketball like them. But you cannot say, well, this person is a role model. Now, on top of that, Ja Morant has to understand that I'm a millionaire and I don't need to be doing these things and kind of prove that I'm tough. You know what I'm saying? Because real people in the hood ain't trying to prove that they tough. They just want, you know what I'm saying? They don't have to. It's just automatically known. And so that's how you know that he's not a real hood person. Because a real hood person ain't trying to do all that.
Right.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Now, the marijuana thing, I just think it's just another thing, man, to kind of set us back somehow, man. To get our minds off of one thing and get us thinking on something else. To say, okay, well, we're going to let, we don't care if you smoke. So now you can play games high. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I mean? So what control do coaches have now? Say, hey, don't play my okay, well, if I don't play with you, how I'm going to transfer? They're already doing that anyway, the transfer for. So I'll go transfer, play for them over here because I can play high over there.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. You can't even play at your optimal level like that. I mean, not for real. Yeah. However, I do
and get hurt.
No, I only look at it in terms of on a pro level how many games they play, and that I've always wondered, how can you play 100 games and not take something to sustain that for that long length of time? Because it's not even natural. As much basketball as I played in my lifetime, I cannot even conceive of playing 100 games and the breakdown of the body. But it's still not acceptable. Because you're not able to play at your best, and your mind is not at its peak when it's clouded with substances. So,
would any of one of you done the NIL and sold your likeness at all, or would you have done that when you were in school playing?
I probably would have. Simply because we didn't have a lot of money, and so even right now, my mom was 83, so sometimes we sit around, we talk about this the whole time. She would send $20 money orders. You know what I mean? Because that's all she could send. Once a month, $20 money order. So I probably would have, just to be able to. Although I was on the full ride, I got my pilgrim, all that type of stuff. After games, we get money for food after games, but still, just to have more money in my pocket. And to be able to sell myself to somebody else, although I wasn't that good, so somebody was selling my jerseys in a store, but still, but yeah, if you can't sell yourself, then and somebody else can, that ain't good.
Right.
Right.
What you think, Aaron?
I agree. I probably would have. Because I felt like we should have been getting paid anyway, even back then. Because I mean, seriously, when I went to Iowa my freshman year, then transferred to KU, and Vivian Stringer had us practicing at 6 a.m. That's an ungodly time to be practicing. Getting up at 6, and so the like I said, the time that we spend for the sport, I mean, they say it's amateur, but I respectfully disagree with the time that we put in and the expectation that goes along with it. We were expected to win. When I transferred to KU, we were in the top 25. We were expected to win as much as Jacques Vaughn and then and Paul were expected to win. We were too.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So did you guys see that Chris Paul is Chris Paul going to Golden State? Is that final?
I think so. I don't know if it's final. I did see it flash across the screen.
Yeah, somebody trying to help him get a ring. That's all. In his last days, so somebody trying to help.
I was surprised that he was still. I was like, what? He's still playing? He should be retired.
So since both of y'all know this guy, I just bought a Draymond Green jersey 2 weeks ago. Michigan State Draymond Green jersey, right? So is this brother as intense as he seemed on TV? Because both of y'all know the brother. I mean, I know he's a nice guy because I've seen him do interviews and everything, but on the court, I mean, he seems just really ferocious, intense. Like, is that it all the time? Since you guys
so from my take, I only know Draymond, like I said, through Lou and just hanging out with them for a little bit, but also just playing or coaching rather. So I don't know, and that was the old Draymond. See, I don't. This is the new Draymond. So everybody goes through a metamorphosis after they've been in the league so many years. And so I look at Draymond like Dennis Rodman. I was telling some people about this the other day. Is that Draymond is trying to be the new Dennis Rodman, the bad boy, you know what I mean? Whereas Rodman first came in humble as hell with the business, you know what I mean? But after he got them few championships on his belt, and
that joke got rough.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So once he got into the league, like I'm here, I'm actually in the league, and can't nobody take me out the league. He changed, and so and Draymond is the same way. So Draymond is just trying to build up his reputation to where he gonna be needed wherever he go. You know what I mean? Because he's honestly, he's not the most athletic player, but he's the most smartest player on that floor.
Yeah, he's
you know
very
effective.
So he knows how to use what he has, and that's what he's always done. He's always played with a certain level of intensity, and I always call it that Saginaw that Saginaw intensity that we've been known to have on the court. But just like Principal, so just like Principal Ted said, you know, he's going to evolve. He's getting older, and so you know, as an athlete, you're still a person, and you're still coming into yourself as a human being. So we are going to see some of that unfold on the court as well.
Yeah. So Principal Tipton, before we sign off, for parents who are watching this and want to make a decision about where their child goes to high school next year, they haven't made a choice yet. What would you say to them in closing before we head out today?
So I would say Pershing, of course. And I say this because, again, I'm going to go back to my coaching day. I mean, my playing days. So I was fortunate enough to have a decent high school coach who I still talk to this day. My junior college coach, I played at Dodge City Community College, which is in Dodge City, Kansas. It's Brad Underwood. Brad is now the head coach at Illinois, right? And then once I left Dodge City, I went to Tulsa, and Tubby Smith was my coach at Tulsa. And so all of these guys I still talk to this day. You know what I mean? I can call Tubby right now and, hey, Chip, what's going on? You know what I mean? Coach Underwood is a bit more busier, but he'll always call me back when I call, you know. And so I say that because I've had men to kind of help me along my journey. And also, when we talk about models, these are men I can actually model my life after. So when Coach Smith was at Kentucky, I would take my team down for their camp every year. And so after camp, me and a couple of guys that played for him go out to eat, and just to see how he is, you know, in the public, and know how he is on the court. On the court, he's crazy as hell. You know what I mean? But outside of that, he's the nicest guy you ever want to meet. And you would never know that this guy's a millionaire, you know? So, and I say that because when kids walk into Pershing, that's the version that they get of me. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna have someone that's going to mentor them, that's going to mold them, that's going to show them what a man is supposed to look like, talk like, act like, right? Absolutely. And also be able to give them guidance on college or career or whatever the case may be. Because coming from Cody, you know, my mom and stepdad didn't go to college. So I wasn't able to reach back, say, hey, Mom, I'm taking this class. What do you think I should be taking? Nobody knew that. Those things I had to figure out on my own. So they have somebody at the school besides the counselor and their teachers that care about their future and education. So when they walk through those doors at Pershing, they're not just getting an education, but they're getting someone and people that they can rely on for the rest of their lives if they need it, you know, for guidance, for direction, for just an ear, you know, and we're always there to listen to those our kids.
Look, thanks again, Principal Tipton, for joining us today. Yes, we want to have you on The Real Nonsense. We want to give you flowers, brother, because you are doing wonderful things over at Pershing. And I know I saw it firsthand, so I know it's going to only get better with time. And when you get that new building, it's going to be completely off the hook at that point. So kudos to you, brother, for stepping up and being responsible for the learning, the nurturing, and the growth of our children in the city of Detroit. We appreciate you for that.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for coming on. And again, you know, like I said, Doc, it goes, you know, from people like you on my staff that when I need you to cover a class, you know, like, oh man, I just, you know, you're like, okay, I got it. You know what I mean? And that's what it takes to run our community, is that, you know, people, you ask them, can you do something? They're like, okay, I got it. You know, and that's why I try to be for my staff. So when they ask me to do something, I'm like, yep, I got it. You know, because we all got to make sure we look out for each other. So I appreciate you too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So thank you for coming on the Real Nonsense Podcast. The Real Nonsense Podcast is sponsored by Jared Davis Photography, BRJ1 Media Group. You can check out me and Aaron. We'll be at the McKenzie Alumni Picnic tomorrow. Chip, you should come on by if you got time. We're gonna take up the whole corner of Chicago and Wyoming, a couple thousand people. But okay. I know, hey, the Q, you a Q, so the Q boat ride today, right?
Yes, today. Rule to the Qs.
All right. I'm not going. I pass on y'all this year.
Yes. I gotta go next year because I heard it's a blast. I heard it's a blast. So does that end y'all weekend? This is the end of the weekend with this boat ride, or is there something else tomorrow too?
Yeah, something picnic tomorrow.
Okay, where's the picnic for the fans who want to?
It's Belle Isle. I'm not sure what shelter is at, but you'll trust me when you ride around, you'll see. Yeah.
You'll see all the purple and gold out there, so you'll see it. Yep. Okay, brother. Thank you so much. And Aaron, I'll see you in the morning. Thanks everybody for watching. It's the Real Nonsense Podcast. Have a wonderful Saturday.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir.